Earlier this year, Detroit News editorial page editor and MiWeek contributor Nolan had a chance to sit down one-on-one with Governor Rick Snyder. It was right after his last State of the State address, and they talked about what the governor would push for his last year in office and his continued challenges like the Flint water crisis.
We're waiting for Governor Rick Snyder to arrive. He gave his State of the State address last night, and typically he stops by after an address like that. It's our opportunity to sort of fill in the blanks from the speech. Well, it's his final State of the State address. I felt it was a recap of what he feels he's done for the state, how he's made the state better. I felt he was making a statement for his legacy. Governor, thanks for sitting down with us today. We wanted to talk to you. You gave your State of the State address Tuesday night, and it's your last State of the State address. And you used the beginning part of it, much of the beginning part of it, as sort of a recap of what you've done over these 7 years in Michigan. Are you satisfied with what you've been able to accomplish for Michigan? Have you checked off most of your to-do list?
Yeah, well, it's been exciting, Nolan, and it's not just about me. It's what we've done together. The state's made a huge comeback. I mean, think back to 2009, 2010. I mean, those were rough years. And if you look at it, we're a fundamentally much better state today. And people can feel that if you stop and reflect back. Our economy, 540,000 private sector jobs, #1 in the Great Lakes states, #6 in the nation. Same thing with per capita income in terms of those rankings. And then home values. People's home values have gone up dramatically. These are things that really make an impact on people's lives, and I'm proud of a lot of other programs we've done, from education to infrastructure.
You seem to be making a case for your legacy in that speech, going over the things that you've accomplished, the things you're proud of. The same day you gave that speech, we had a poll in the Detroit News that asked Michigan voters how they felt about where we've come as a state under your leadership. And we had 2/3 of the people in the state, or the voters, said that we're either worse off or no better than they were 7 years ago. Does that perception surprise you? And what would be your explanation for why the perception of these people in this survey doesn't match the reality that you laid out Tuesday night?
Yeah, well, first, I think if you take it down to the individual level and sit down with people and really ask them what their life was like back then and what it is today, most people are better off, if you really put it in that context. And one of the things that I think could diminish that when people do polling and such is our nation, in terms of all the fighting going on, all the conflict going on. I think that really kind of puts a pallor on the whole thing that brings people down, because, and it is wrong. We need to be a positive place. And when your leadership is all about negativity, it affects you. And in Michigan, I've tried to be a role model. I call it relentless positive action. No blame, no credit. And you mentioned the thing, I'm not trying to build my legacy. What I've been trying to do all these years, because this was a special honor and opportunity to be governor, is to say, can we build a foundation? We were a broken state. Can we build a foundation that can be sustainable for the long term, that other people can come and build on and make it even better? And that's been my goal.
But Governor, you would like to see the things you've done and the progress you've made sustain. And the worry about the perception, if people don't think that what you've done has worked to make their lives better and make the state better, the worry is that it'll be harder to sustain these programs and practices, policies that you put in place.
No, that is a challenge. But let's be proud that, again, in terms of job creation, in terms of economic environment, we're a top 10 state today. We were a bottom 10 state before, in the lost decade. We've got great energy going into the future. This whole field of mobility, where the auto industry and the IT industry are coming together, is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful challenge, but we're the world's leader in that. Let's embrace those kind of opportunities to say, let's not dwell on the negatives. Let's talk about positives and common ground on how we can take diverse people and say, we can all win together, versus this win-lose attitude that you're seeing at the national level and too often in our world.
You got one more year left. That wasn't a farewell address.
No, 6.5 dog years to go. The way I view it is
so you got 11 months to go. What do you want to finish up this year? What do you want to start new this year?
Yeah, there's a number of things. So one of the big things is I'm calling it the Marshall Plan for Talent. I'll roll out in about 3 weeks. And it's really about how can we dramatically accelerate competency-based learning, certificates and things like that that can lead people into jobs that pay $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and literally do that for tens of thousands of Michiganders. We've done some great things with the professional trades, but we can go a lot faster by having a focused effort to help lead the country in understanding how we close these career opportunities and create them for people in terms of new jobs.
Had we had this in place, this Marshall Plan in place, would we have had a better shot at landing the Amazon bid?
Yeah, in fact, it's reflected in the Amazon bid. Many of the elements, many of the basic principles, we put in there in some fashion. Again, the specifics will come out in 3 weeks or so, but it's following that similar kind of path to say, how do we make the pie bigger? Because one of the things when I looked at Amazon is I said, do we want to win Amazon if it's just going to take employees from our great companies already? Because we should be taking care of Michigan companies even before we take care of new companies. And so I said the issue here is this shouldn't be about having people just move from company to company. How do we make the pie even bigger in terms of giving access to great Michiganders to walk into great well-paying jobs that have openings today? So have them go to work at Ford, GM, Quicken, Little Caesars, all these wonderful companies, and at the same time have enough people that we could even fill in Amazon. Because if these people have the talents, some companies will come here to hire those people.
So, Governor, the lowest point of your governorship over these past 7 years was the Flint water crisis, and you mentioned Flint in the speech Tuesday night. When you leave office at the end of this year, will you have made things right with the people of Flint?
Well, the people of Flint have to make that decision on their own. But what I can say is the water quality in Flint has been good for some time, comparable to other cities. We're going to continue that process. Service lines are being replaced. We've got educational and health efforts to help particularly young people in Flint, but the people of Flint be more successful. And we're starting to see some good progress in economic development. Lear is adding 400 plus jobs in Flint. GM's putting a new engine in their engine plant up there. On entrepreneurship, the Ferris wheel building's going on. This is won a national award for economic development about creating entrepreneurship. Those are the kind of things that let's take care of the basic services, but let's create an exciting environment for job creation. That can make a difference in Flint.
Now, you choked up a little bit at the end of your speech last night. You were thanking your family, your staff, the others who have helped you throughout this journey here. It sounds like you hate to go, or you hate to see this end. Have you enjoyed the experience?
Well, it's been an experience of a lifetime. I mean, when else do you get a chance to say you get to help 10 million people? And it's not any 10 million people. I'm a Michigander. I'm proud of that. This is my home. This is going to be my home. And so it's a chance to give back. And so I view it as, I wouldn't say it's about hating to leave, but the chapter's going to close. But it's been a chapter that I'm proud to say I had the opportunity to do in my life. And the reason I did it, I spoke, that's where I was getting choked up, was it was about keeping our kids in the state. And it was very personal about keeping Sue and I, our kids in the state. So it was great to report how we've kept our kids in the state. And then I asked people to reflect, because I view that as one of the greatest measures when people say, are we better off? How many young people do we know that otherwise would have had to leave Michigan that have been able to stay here now, or come back, or bring in new kids? That's exciting, and that's a wonderful thing.
Governor, thank you. Appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.